Okay, so if it's okay, we might just get started. Just to say welcome along. My name is Julianne Bergen. I'm here with my colleague Mary, and over the course of this week, over 4 sessions, we're going to be talking about mobile phones, and a lot of this is applicable to tablet devices as well. So your Android tablets and your iPads, as well as your Android phones and iPhones. Just looking at kind of some of the things that are inbuilt in those devices. So today we're going to concentrate on kind of the managing your phone piece, things like the time you spend on your phone, if you lose your phone, the emergency side of things. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing on Android phones, kind of the accessibility features. So some of the things that make your phone more accessible to those for whom touchscreen may not be the best option, or even ways to kind of adjust the touchscreen to make it more accessible to people who have fine motor difficulties or tremors and things like that. So as I say, it's going to be a series of 4 sessions this week, and we are going to record these and put them up on our YouTube channel and make them available to yourselves and to others after the fact. So just to get started, as I said, sorry, presentation's not doing its thing. Oh, sorry, go back there. 4 short presentations. So today's one's going to concentrate on things like screen time, safety, parental controls, Find My Device, and SOS messaging as well. So I'm going to concentrate on Android devices. Mary is going to be concentrating on iPhone and iOS devices over Wednesday and Thursday this week. So basically, Android and iOS are the two main types of operating system, or OS, that's available for your device. Android has been around for over, I think, 10 years, maybe 12 years at this stage. iPhones is a similar. They're constantly changing. There's constantly new versions coming out. From a quick glance, they look similar, but they are actually quite different. There's different things you can do to tweak your phone to make it more accessible and more user-friendly. So we're going to start off with some of those today. And just the first thing to make you aware of, there is different versions of Android out there. We're currently using version 14, which was released, I think, in September of this year. So you might have if you're an Android user, you might have a pending update available that you can kind of just update your phone to the most recent version. But just to say that back as far as version 11 is still supported. I say it's a yearly update, usually in the autumn or thereabouts each year. They do become obsolete after a while, and there'll come a point where you cannot upgrade your phone to the latest version. That is very variable, particularly in Android, because there's different manufacturers, and I'll come on to that in a second. Just to be also aware of Android, they often have an alternative name, and it's based on a dessert or a sweet thing. So current version 14 is also known as upside down cake. But if you go back, you'll see things like lollipop and things like that, other names there. So just be aware of that. Particularly if you're buying a phone or anything like that, check to make sure that it can be upgraded to the most recent version of Android. And often, if you've got a cheaper phone, you sometimes see them available on eBay or Amazon, very cheap Android phones. Take a look and see what version of Android they have, because some of them will only have version 6 or 5. So you're talking very old devices in that case, and apps may not be compatible with them. So there's different hardware manufacturers out there. For iPhones, there's only one manufacturer. There's Apple, and that's it. So every phone that comes from Apple will have the same features. It's different for iOS. There's lots of different manufacturers out there, like Samsung, Google Pixel, Huawei, I'm not sure how you pronounce that one, and loads of other cheaper ones as well. So just be aware of that different manufacturers will take the most recent version of Android and tweak it to their device. So even the things I'm showing you today, hopefully all of them will be available on your phone regardless of manufacturer. They might be in different places than where I've said, but just I'll show you how you might search for them. It's easier to access the developer tools for Android. So in that case, as I said, you'll find that different manufacturers have different versions of them, but also for app developers, this can have a knock-on effect. They're able to actually get access to the back end, for want of a better phrase, and they can develop their apps specifically for that. So you'll find that if you go into the Play Store on your Android phone, there tends to be a huge amount of apps there. The quality control of them isn't as strict as what you get in iOS. So you often get loads of apps there, but they might vary in quality and ability to edit. For example, if you're using AAC apps. So it may vary a lot across different devices and different versions of iOS or of Android. So just be aware of that. And I also want you to be aware of what's called Kai OS, Kai. It's a limited version of Android, and you'll often find this on kind of those hybrid phones that are kind of like smartphones, but also kind of might have some apps on them as well. So, for example, Doro phones and Alcatel will be the two main kind of products you might look for these, the brands. So they might have WhatsApp and they might have something like Facebook on them, but they still have the buttons on the phone rather than a touchscreen keypad. They will not have as many features as what I'm talking about here today. That's a very locked down version of Android. That's why it's called KaiOS. It's technically Android, but it's so different. So just be aware of that. I don't want to disparage it. It's actually a great system for those that it works for, but you might not get all the accessibility features that I'm talking about here today. So a couple of things we're going to talk about today. First, I'm going to talk about screen time monitoring and restricting your screen time. It's kind of their part in Android. It's part of what's called digital well-being. So looking after your well-being in relation to digital devices. So how much time you're spending on your device, what you're doing with it, what apps you're using most often. And that will vary person to person. Like I use a lot of my phone a lot for accessing emails on the go. So for me, that's a big element of it. You can also then see it kind of groups them together as well, what's kind of more leisure time or what's more information. Like, so if you're looking up, I'm trying to think of like RT news websites or apps versus RT players, which would be more leisure time. So I'm going to just change over and hopefully I can share my phone screen here now. So hopefully you can see my phone screen. Yeah, you can. So just to show you what this is about, I'm going into my settings here. So as I say, I'm on a Samsung Galaxy phone here. If you're on Google Pixel, if you're on Hawaii, you might have a different kind of layout here. But I'm just going to show you where this is to start off with. So I'm scrolling down there, just around halfway down my screen now. Sorry, I'll move it up towards the top. Sorry, about a third of the way down. There's a section there called Digital Wellbeing and Parental Control. So I'm just going to tap in there. So this is going to show you what my usage of my phone has been so far today. So I've been on my phone for nearly 4 hours. Some of that was preparation for this meeting. I'm not normally on my phone for 4 hours by 1 o'clock every day. So some of it's going to pop up there. So you can see I spent 1 hour 31 minutes on social things. So that'll be Teams here now. I had Teams opened up a while ago and making sure everything was working. And I was on Facebook a little bit earlier on as well. You can also see there for news and information, I spent 1 hour 6 minutes, and productivity and finance 42 minutes. I'm not quite sure what that is actually. So you can kind of see my breakdown there of what I've been using my phone for this morning. So it's also telling me my most used apps today. I woke up early this morning and was on my Kindle app on my phone for about an hour before I got up out of bed. So that was me dawdling this morning, getting out of bed. And you can also see there, my screen time goal is 4 hours. I can change that. That's a goal you can change. You might want to limit that more for maybe younger children or teenagers. You might want to limit it down to 1 or 2 hours a day. For yourself, you might need to add more to that if you're using your phone for work purposes. Things like that, you might need to tweak that around. It'll send you a notification and ask you if you want to extend your screen time. Just to be aware of that. That's different in parental controls. Sorry, is there noise there?
Doreen, if it's okay there, I'm going to put you on mute if that's okay. Thanks.
Apologies, sorry. So you can also, as I say, limit how much you want to spend on any particular app as well. So if you go into app timers here, you can choose to add an app to this. So for example, I've got podcasts there at the moment. It will kind of give you all your apps divided down into a particular category. So for example, my first one is audio, my second one is games. I've got a child who likes to take my phone every now and again and just have a little quick game with something or other. So you just choose the one that you want. So for example, if I go into BBC Sounds, I can choose that one and set a timer for it, and I can choose how long I want to spend on that particular app in a day. So for example, if you are trying to cut down on social media usage and you only want to spend half an hour on Facebook and half an hour on Instagram or whatever your personal things are, you can set it there. It will ask you then, do you want to extend that time as well? So they reset every day at midnight as well. So new day, you set there. You've also got other monitors down here, like a driving monitor. So if you're using your phone while driving, I'm not sure how accurate that one is because sometimes I listen to podcasts while I'm driving and I think that sometimes adds into it. I'm not quite sure. Walking monitor. So for example, maybe you turn on Spotify or something like that every time you go walking. And you can also there check your monitor, volume monitor as well. Parental controls, you can, if you've got it set up with Family Link, you can go in here and limit it to somebody else's account. So a child, for example, you might want to limit it to how many hours a day they're spending on Snapchat, TikTok, whatever. Or if they've got games or something like that on their phone, you might want to limit how much time they're spending on that. You can also set a bedtime as well. So like maybe nothing after 9 p.m. or something like that might be the rule in your particular house. You can set that up there as well. You also down here at the bottom have two other things I just want to talk about, which is focus mode and bedtime mode. Focus mode means that you can set your phone to a certain focus. So for example, if you were in work, you may not want to be getting your Facebook alerts, or maybe you want to stop yourself looking at Facebook. Maybe it's not even the alerts that kind of bring you to Facebook. If you want to kind of monitor your own behavior, you can set up here, for example, if I go into work, I can choose which, I won't go through the whole thing here, which apps are allowed access to you're allowing to access during certain times. So you can choose it by place, so look at geolocation, so you can set it to your office if you're physically going to a different location, or you can set it by time period. So for example, if your hours of work are 9 to 5, you can set up the timings there as well, and you can choose which apps are available. And you can also choose if people are allowed to call you and things like that. So it's very similar to bedtime mode as well. Sorry, just going back there to that. So you can set it to do not disturb, and only maybe certain people can call you during the overnight. So for example, you might want family members to be able to ring you, but you don't want a friend or a work colleague or somebody else who's in your contacts to contact you. So you can set who is allowed to contact you between certain times, your bedtime times. You can also do things like changing the settings there, like turning on dark mode so the screen isn't as bright. So you also have blue light filters that you can turn on as well that will kind of take the glare out of your phone overnight. Blue light is supposed to keep you awake, keep you active, alert mode. So if you turn off blue light, it kind of gives a softer focus on the screen, and the idea being that it doesn't activate you as much, you know, so it's calmer and easier for bedtime. Yeah, and you can choose different wallpapers and stuff like that there as well, sorry. So those are a few things there that might be interesting to look at, particularly for yourself, but you might also be setting these for somebody else. And do tell them that you're setting them on their phone. You do need to link your phone, and I'll talk about that now in a second. I'm just going to go back to my main presentation and we'll just talk about next slide. No, sure, sorry, apologies. Safety and parental controls. So to set this up on your device, you need to set it up on your device and your child's device as well, or the person whose device you are in control of. Hopefully that's a child, hopefully you won't be controlling another adult's phone, but just to be aware of them. So the child will need their own Google account. I'm saying child here, but it's basically the account that's been supervised. And you link those together using the family network. This is an app you do need to download from the Play Store. I can't show you this here today, unfortunately, because I don't have two devices, but if you have two devices, you can set this up and see how it looks. It will allow you to do things like locate your child's phone. So when I say child, again, I'm just saying whoever's phone you're monitoring here, where they are. So that'll use Google Maps to give you a ping of where they are. You can also do things like restricting content on Chrome and YouTube and Google search, so you can limit what they're viewing. So for example, you might want certain terminologies not to be searchable for a younger child. So you can put that into the family link so they can restrict searches. You can also view their activity, so you can see what they're doing and roughly the time scale as well. So like if they're on WhatsApp at 1 a.m, you'll be able to see that. If they're on TikTok at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that might be acceptable. You can also, as I say, restrict the screen time, similar to what I showed you there for your own phone. You can do that for somebody else's phone. So you might want to allow restricted access to an app or to an activity. So for example, you might want to give a child half an hour on Minecraft, for example. You don't want to block it completely, but you want to kind of monitor and manage their activity. You also have the ability to lock the child's phone remotely as well. So for example, if they're out and about, they're away from you, you can lock their phone remotely. So even if they're upstairs, you might choose to lock their phone at a certain time at night that they can't make calls or get onto WhatsApp. However, just to say, it's not as secure as the safety features you get on an iPhone. They can be bypassed easily. If you Google it, you'll find ways of getting around it. So if you've got a very tech-savvy kid, this may not be the most secure method of securing their activity on a phone. Just be aware of that. Next thing I wanted to talk about is app pinning. Again, iOS does do this better, but just to say it is a possibility on Android as well. On iOS it's called guided access, and Mary will be showing you a bit on that tomorrow. But here I'm just going to talk about it in relation to Android apps. So you can do this setting it up on your phone. So again, I'm just going to go back and share my screen. 1 second. So you may need to set this up in your settings to start with. And as I said earlier on, different versions of Android might have different settings in different locations. So what you might need to do is go to that little magnifying glass, the search icon in the top right. And if you put in pin, for example, it should take you to the place where you have things like pinning apps. So you can see there, the first option is about locking my screen, my pin for locking my screen. The second one down under security and privacy on my Google Android, on my Samsung Galaxy is pin app. And you can see I've got it activated there. You can see the little slider is done to the right. So if I scroll down, you can see there, if I go in here, it's given me options about it's turned on at the moment, and it can ask for a pin to unpin it, or you can press a combination of buttons. In Galaxy's particular case, it's you hold a recent and back button at the same time. But just to show you how this works, I'm just going to come out of that, and I'm just going to go into my recents, which is on the bottom left of your screen, 3 downward lines, kind of they call it a hamburger menu when they're horizontal, but I'm not sure what you call it when they're vertical. But down here, and you can see a list of my most recent apps that I've used. And one of the apps I opened earlier on was an AAC app. So I'm going to try to show you how you might pin this. So if you want to limit somebody to what app they're using, so for example, it might be a communication app, it might be an educational app. For example, I've got reading eggs on my phone for my son, so I might want to lock him to that and stop him coming out and going into YouTube. What you have to do is in the app icon at the top there, so in this case it's that red logo for Clarocom is the app I'm using here, that red logo, just tap on that and it'll bring you up a little menu. And you can see there it's asking me, do I want to open it in split screen or get more information? But you can see the bottom option on the menu is pin this app. So what I'll do is pin the app now to my screen. So it's giving me there a little information on how to unpin it. So obviously don't show that to the person you're locking into the app. So now the app is pinned. Oh, and it stopped sharing with you. Apologies. So to get it back then, I have to press my buttons together and hopefully it'll come back out. And it's telling me my app's unpinned. Sorry, I didn't realize it stopped sharing because on this. Apologies about that. It did it too well. It stopped the sharing to Teams when it did that. But that's how you pin an app. But as I say, it's limited in functionality. If you're really looking to lock somebody into an app, iOS does it much, much better. Also then find my device. You can set this up through your Google account. It will allow you different options when you go to find your device. So for example, you might have to log on through a different device or through your Google account on your laptop or a different phone. But once you do that, you get the options then to find your device by either playing a sound, so it will beep or something like that. So for example, if it's in your house, knowing it's in your house is great. So you know it's somewhere in your house, but trying to figure out where it is in your house, that might be quite difficult. So having that ability to play a sound can maybe guide you towards whether it's in the bedroom, in the kitchen, the sitting room, wherever it is. As I say, you can also view location. So if you know it's outside of your house or outside of your office or whatever, you can go and see where it is. It also gives you options to lock and erase your phone remotely. Like most people's phones will have a lock screen that times in after 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it may be. So that might give somebody enough time to try something, to get into your Venmo or your Revolut accounts or whatever. So you can actually lock your device remotely if you're concerned that that's an issue. And you can also erase all data on it remotely as well. So for example, I use my phone for work. If I lost it, I have to tell my IT manager and they can remotely wipe my phone. Also, just under the Find My Phone, just to be aware that you can also see if there's trackers nearby. So some of you might be familiar with the idea of air tags or smart tags. These are tracking devices that sometimes can be very small and neat and can be hidden quite well. So for example, you might put one into your child's school bag or maybe into your suitcase if you're going traveling, just to keep an eye on where that particular piece of luggage is. But there is also under Find My Device an option to scan for tags that aren't in proximity to their owner. So everybody, when you're setting up an AirTag, you have to attach it to an account. So that if you're buying it for yourself, obviously that would be your account. If somebody has left an AirTag somewhere around the place, it will pick that up on your phone. If it's, I think if it's there for more than a certain amount of time, I think it could be 48 hours if it's noticed that there's a tag close by for more than a certain amount of time that's not near its owner, it can alert you to that. And also then just to lastly mention things around SOS and emergency. These are really useful to know about. It's just to show you what this is like. I'm just going to go back to my phone. Oh. And hopefully this is popping up. Okay. So just going back into settings here, there is your emergency contacts. So I'm just going to show you where you find this again. I'm just using the search icon in the top right of the screen, put in SOS, and here it pops up. So just in case it's stored in a different place on your phone, I would really encourage you to fill these out for yourself. So for example, under medical info, you can put in if you've got certain medical conditions there. For example, if you have epilepsy, or for example, if you've got an allergy to a particular drug, you can put it in there. One of the nice things about this, you can see there at the bottom, is their show on lock screen. So for example, if you are in an accident, you're unconscious, emergency services or anybody can, on your lock screen down at the bottom left of the screen, the little phone icon, they can get into your emergency information in there by looking there. So they don't need to unlock your phone to actually get access to that information. You can also put in there things like your emergency contacts. So you can, I don't know how many you can put in. I've got 3 people in there, but I don't know if there's an upper limit on that. And again, you can show those on your lock screen. So filling in that information, really encourage it. I did a first aid course there recently, and this is one of the things that the paramedics were encouraging us to do. You also have your emergency SOS in here. So just to say, again, this will vary by manufacturer phone. On Galaxy, you have to press the power button on the side 5 times. And when you do that, it will start a countdown to calling your emergency contacts. And it'll play a warning sound there, and it can also contact emergency services as well. You can also share information like sound file. It'll take a 5-second sound file of what's happening at that particular moment in time. So I'm trying to think, if there's an earthquake, you might hear the house shaking and things like that. You can take photographs and video as well to share with your emergency contacts as well as emergency services. So a really good one to know about there as well. Oh, sorry, there's the unknown tracker alert. Sorry, it's in under safety and emergency. Apologies. So there I can tell you if there's a tracker around you that is unknown to your phone. Sorry, just going back now. So as I say, if you have somebody who's vulnerable, you might want to set that up for them. That if they're, for example, somebody with dementia might be wandering, you can set it up that you're in their emergency contacts there. So if somebody comes across them, they don't even need to be able to access that person's phone. They can just get in through to the contact information through the lock screen and maybe be able to contact you. Okay, so that's a very quick overview of some of the things around managing your phone. Tomorrow we will be going into more access and things like that. So I'm just going to stop the presentation there.